guys, it's Debbie. So I'm going to be talking about my experience living in a haunted apartment. I lived in this apartment for 4 years. I moved in 2011 and I moved out in 2014. This place was extremely haunted. There was always something going on. Um, Paranormal wise, and it always centered around me. I guess because I'm very, very sensitive and can see, hear, and feel. So it was always centered around me. A lot of the paranormal happened in my room and in the living room. And in my room late at night when I was trying to sleep, I would see spirits and I would see them with my eyes open and closed. They would walk through my room. They would just continually, almost like on a loop, just walking through the room, walking through the room, walking through the room. There was some that would stop and make eye contact with me and kind of like look at me and smile, or get really close to me and kind of look shocked, kind of like look shocked that I could see them. It was very strange. Sometimes they would show me things. They would show me like a flower, like they would show me a flower and then vanish. And some of them would. There was one that showed me a baby, and the baby had really blue eyes, and it kind of cooed, and then it vanished. Um, I was hearing voices. There was there was three names that kept four names that kept coming up. There was the name Catherine. There was the name Bill, Bob, and Juan. And continuously, I would be hearing those names. And Bob would always, I would hear him yelling. He would yell, Bob, help, light. I would hear him, and I came to realize that these spirits were trapped and they haven't gone up, and they were trapped in between our world and the spirit world, and they did not go up to heaven, and they were trapped. They were trapped in my apartment complex. It was crazy. I would get poked. I would get up to go to the bathroom, and I would get poked on my back. Somebody would reach out and poke me on the back, and when I would turn around, there would be nobody there. I would smell cigarettes. I would smell the smell of roses, and there was no roses in my house. There was no roses being grown outside my house. It was almost like somebody walked through with a bouquet, and I could smell them. There was a smell of baking bread. One night at 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up to the smell of baking bread, and it was so strong. I got up, I went into the kitchen, I walked in. The smell of baking bread literally hit me in the face. And all of a sudden, I heard the kitchen cabinet slam shut, and then the smell was gone, just like that. It just vanished. The smell was gone. It was so weird. I would feel somebody touching my arms. I would feel somebody like going like this to my hair. Like I said, I was always hearing things. Things took a really drastic turn when I started seeing shadow figures. Now, me personally, I really don't think shadow figures are bad. Sometimes I think it's the way your eyes see color. Like, I think that sometimes things might appear to be a dark shadow because it's the way your eyes are seeing it, but it might not necessarily be a dark shadow. But anyway, I was seeing shadow figures. I was seeing them walk through walls. I was seeing sparkles, like sparkles, just like falling, almost like a glitter. I think they're called spirit sparks. Um, Things got weird, even weirder one night. I was sleeping finally when I did fall asleep, and when I sleep, I normally sleep. This is weird. I normally sleep with like the blankets pulled really tight over my head, and I'm like kind of like in like a fetal position. Something took my arm and picked it up out of the blanket and was holding it there. And I felt cold hands holding onto my arm and squeezing my arm so tight. And it hurt so bad. And I was yelling for my boyfriend to help me. And he turned around, he said, "What?" And he saw my arm was up. I couldn't even move it down. It was like up. And I said, "Help." And he said, "Help what?" I said, "I can't." I said, "Something's got my arm." So all of a sudden, as soon as I said that, my arm dropped. Like it let it go. So weird. I know, it's like so friggin' crazy. Oh my God. I got so many stories on this place, but I don't want to, like, it'll be so long. There was something that happened that, so I kept hearing the lady's voice, Catherine. So I was just like, who is this lady, Catherine? You know, did someone pass away in here? I don't, because I kept hearing like a man yell that name over and over again. So I went down to the leasing girl and I asked her, I straight up asked her, did anybody die in my unit? And she said, no one died in there. Turns out I was talking to one of our neighbors, and she said she had a friend named Catherine. And she asked me where I lived, and I said in 320. And she said, oh, Catherine lived there. And I was like, who's Catherine? And she goes, oh, she was my friend. She was 75, and she passed away of cancer, and she committed suicide in 320 because she was in so much pain, and she had no family, and she took a whole bottle of pills, and they didn't find her body for days later. So in my room, Catherine died in my room. So that's where that name kept coming up, Catherine. And it was a man that was yelling her name out. So I found out that the man that was yelling her name out was her husband. Her husband died in a nursing home. But I guess he was still like haunting his old environment. And he was walking around my apartment yelling out for his wife, Catherine. It was crazy. This place was crazy. It was, thinking about it now, I'm getting like anxiety. I'm kind of like, ugh, it's, ugh. Then, every night at 12 o'clock at night, I would feel something walk in my room. I would feel something walk in. And it was a presence. It was a heavy, heavy presence. And I kept telling my boyfriend, there's something in this room. There's something in this room. There's something in this room. And he was like, no, there's not. I said, no, there's something in this room, and it's behind our bed. And he's like, there's nothing in here. I'm like, no, I feel it. This went on for months, where I kept feeling like there was somebody that would walk in our room, stand up behind my bed, and I would feel like they would put their hand on my chest and kind of like hold my chest down, and I would feel like they were behind me, so they were giving me, like, making my head hurt. And I felt them, and I kept getting this man vision, like a man. And this would not let me sleep. Like, I wasn't sleeping for weeks on end. I was not sleeping. One night, I went over to my mom's house, and I started hysterical crying. I said, and my mom's like, what's wrong? She's like, you look like you haven't slept in like weeks. And I told her what happened. And she said, okay. She's like, one of my friends, her daughter is 6, and she's a medium. So she goes, I'm gonna, I'll call her, and I'm gonna have her go to your place. And I was like, oh wow. I said, really? And she's like, yeah, I will. So a few weeks later, I get this phone call from, we'll call her we'll call her Lisa. I get a phone call from Lisa, and she's going to bring her daughter over. I'll call her Amber. She's going to bring Amber over the house because I don't want to use their real names. So I was all excited. I was like, good. Finally, maybe we'll get some, like, resolution on what the hell is going on in this house. So Amber comes over, and I open up the door, and I see this little girl with these big, beautiful brown eyes. She was so cute. She was staring at me, and she whispers something to her mom, and her mom's like, tell her, Amber, tell her. And she's like, you're just like me. I was like, okay. So this little girl, Amber, starts walking all around the house, and she's going from room to room to room. And when she gets to my bedroom, she starts hysterical crying. This little girl was hysterical crying. I felt so bad. I didn't know what to do. And she's whispering to her mom. And her mom's going, Amber, tell her. And she looks at me. I'll never forget this. Woo! She looks at me and she goes, Debbie, there's 2 spirits in here. There's 2 men. She goes, one is your father. And there's a man spirit, and he's a demon. And I just looked at her, and I knew what was going in my room was not a good spirit, because I felt it. It felt so negative and it just felt horrible. And I knew that there was something in there. And she said to me, he's big, and he's buff, and he's mean. And I just was looking at this little girl and then she said this, he's in your bedroom, he's in here every night. And then she goes, he stands up behind your bed, and he pushes down on your chest, and he gives you headaches. I was just like, oh my God. And she goes, this is what really made me crazy. She goes to me, he wants me to tell you, he wants you to kill yourself and kill your boyfriend. I was just like, oh my God. So she's standing there crying. She's literally crying, this little girl. She can't be in our room anymore. And she pretty much runs out of the room, leaving me and her mom standing there. We're standing there. I'm just looking at the mom and the mother's like, the mom's like, you need to tell this spirit to get out of here. You need to be forceful and tell the spirit to get out. So she goes, I'm going to leave you in here, and you're going to tell him to get out. So she left the room, and I just screamed at the spirit to get out of my room. And I felt this weird, I don't know, I felt almost I felt like it was even more angry. That was the thing. From me yelling at it, because they say that you should not make spirits angry. That's the worst thing you can do, is to irritate spirits and make them angry. You shouldn't do that. And by me screaming at it and telling it to leave, well, not screaming, but being forceful and telling it to leave, it was making it even more angry. So that's not good. So I pretty much had to be forceful and tell that blanker that I had to leave. So the lady, Lisa, goes back in the room, and she starts saging. Starts saging my room out. She starts putting salt. They walk around, and they say this prayer. And after they did that, immediately I felt like the whole vibe of my whole place just seemed like it was it was zen and peaceful, and something left, that demon left. The demon that was, the demon that was making my life hell for 4 years straight. After the little girl, Amber, left, she shuts the door, opens it back up, and she goes, Debbie, your dad told me to tell you the demon's gone. And then she slams the door shut. And me and my boyfriend just look at each other like, what? Now, to get back to all the other spirits that were wandering all around on my place. I figured out the reason why that was all happening. And the reason why it was because my place was a senior citizen apartment complex before it turned into a regular place, like a regular living place. So people died in there. People, they didn't have family, so they were probably sad. And I think that the sad energy was still in there. I think the way they passed away was, it was sad because they probably weren't getting visited by, friends and family. So all of that, sad, negative energy, I think was like all in the walls of that whole entire building. And there was probably a lot of deaths, which is the reason why there was so many spirits that were wandering all around there, because of all the deaths. Because, senior citizens, most of them pass away lonely, and they don't have, like, nobody goes to see them. So I think a lot of the spirits that I was seeing was those of people that passed away, people that died in there. The weird part about it is spirits, when I see them, they don't come to me old. I never seen any spirit that was old. I usually see them young. So I never saw like an old spirit. Like normally when I see spirit, they'll come to me as looking maybe 20s to 40s, like anywhere like around there. I've never seen a 60 or 70-year-old spirit, 80-year-old spirit. I think that either when you pass, this is weird. I always thought like you could pick the age that you want to be, like to look when you're a spirit. Because I've never seen any old spirit. Never. Even when one of my aunts died, and I kept seeing her. I kept seeing her and seeing her. And when I would see her, she would, she passed away fairly young. She passed away, I think, in her 40s. But when I would see her, she would like look like she was in her 30s. So I just have a feeling that, I don't know, something to do with, I've never seen any old spirit. I don't know if maybe when you pass on, you don't look old anymore and your spirit looks younger. I don't know. If there's any psychics or medium watching this, please explain this to me. I would love to know the answer to that because I've never seen an old spirit. It's crazy, but yeah, this place was so haunted, and there was so much going on, and it was definitely 4 years of hell. Definitely, between shadow figures and orbs and voices and noises and being poked and everything else. It was definitely 4 years of hell. And looking back on it now, it's kind of like I can't believe that I actually, lived in that place for so long. It was like something that, something that made me open up even more, like open up my mind even more and realize that this is real. Like, this is real. Like, spirits are so real, and I really wish that like everyone saw them. I really wish that everyone saw them because it's so hard to like talk to people that don't believe in all this and try to like explain to them all this, and they're kind of like looking at me like I'm crazy. You know, they're like, oh, you're crazy, you need help. You know, and no, this is so real. Like, this is real. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to tell that story. And I mean, I could have went on for a really long time. This video is 20 minutes, almost 21 minutes. Honestly, I made this video, I made at least 40 videos today of this same thing. And each time it didn't sound right. And each time I was getting anxiety and I had to stop. And because right now I feel like my chest is getting like, I'm like tight. Because honestly, like that time living in that place was very, very, a little traumatizing, I have to say. But nonetheless, it was something that I don't think I would change. Because like I said, it brought me to a whole, it brought me to a whole realization on things. And, you know, just so happy that I went through something like that, you know? So happy that I went through it. I know it sounds crazy, but I am happy that I went through it. Anyway, guys, I love you and thank you for watching. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and click the notification bell. Bye. Thank you.